Okay, hopefully this could be one of the last videos that I'll be making on Pang Si-hyuk case for a while. So Hive chairman Hitman Bang or Pang Si-hyuk returned to Korea from the US on August 11th to face police questioning over allegations of fraudulent, unfair trading during Hive's IPO process. Now, police had already searched Hive headquarters and the Korea exchange, but they said they had been unable to seize Hitman Bang's phone until now, mobile phone. And the Financial Supervisory Service and National Tax Service are both investigating also, right? Now, Pang Si-hyuk has pledged full cooperation and saying that all transactions were legal. So I'm going to cover this exclusive piece reported by My Daily on August 12th. And then later on, this led to a lot of multiple other Korean media articles, okay? But this was the first one. And after this, I will cover the most recent article report by, Deal Site, who has been covering the HYBE IPO controversy issue through a series of articles, okay? So let's start here. Exclusive, Pang Si-hyuk urgently returns from US on August 11th. He said he will cooperate with authorities. By My Daily reporter named Kim Jin-seok, published on August 12th. Hive chairman Pang Si-hyuk returned urgently to Korea on August 11th. My Daily confirmed that Pang Si-hyuk arrived at Incheon International Airport from the United States that afternoon. His case, by the way, I was trying to find if there were any photos, but no photos. But I'm assuming that this particular Korean media agency confirmed his arrival some way. Okay. Now, his case involving allegations of fraudulent, unfair trading during Hive's IPO now appears set to move forward in earnest, the article says. A police source said the return date was coordinated with the authorities. We had previously conducted a search and seizure at Hive last month, but we were unable to obtain Chairman Bang's mobile phone due to his overseas schedule. Now that he's back, the investigation will proceed quickly. So, yeah, it sounds like they're going to look into Chairman Bang's mobile phone, potentially through forensic means. Okay, like a few years after the IPO already happened. Now, back to the article. At a regular press briefing on the morning of August 11th, South Korean police confirmed they had already conducted a first search of the Korea exchange and a subsequent search at Hive headquarters in late July. We are currently questioning related individuals and examining seized materials, they said. After analysis is complete, we will set a schedule accordingly. Okay. Hive has been cautious in commenting on Pang Si-hyuk's future schedule or any summons dates, stating on August 12th, he plans to cooperate fully with the police investigation and will respond faithfully to questioning. So that's a statement made by Hive according to this agency, My Daily, media agency. Pang Si-hyuk has stressed that he intends to prevent his investigation from affecting the work of Hive artists. In an August 6th email to staff, which I have covered in my video, Pang Si-hyuk explained that he had been spending extended time abroad in recent years due to artist comeback preparations and business expansion, but decided to return quickly to prioritize the investigation over urgent projects. An industry insider commented, Chairman Bang is feeling the weight of the situation. Even while in the US, he tried to cooperate as much as possible without disrupting work. He plans to stay in Korea for the time being and monitor developments. And as we will later figure out by reading the article by Deal Site, Pang Si-hyuk has been working on BTS' new album, New Comeback, but had to stop in the middle of it and come to Korea to participate in this investigation. Now, back to the article. The allegations date back to 2019. Actually, we can skip this because we've been reading about this for weeks and months, but I'm kind of curious how they phrase this in this article. So the allegations date back to 2019, before Hive's IPO, when Pang Si-hyuk allegedly told venture capital firms and other existing investors that there were no plans to go public. Okay, there you go. They used that phrase, no plans, instead of saying IPO timeline is uncertain or IPO could be delayed, which is the phrase made by the government authorities, the financial authorities. But in this article, they are sticking with the no plans to go public narrative. Okay, all right. Then arranged for a special purpose company set up by a private equity fund linked to him to purchase their shares. This is considered a violation of the Capital Markets Act's ban on fraudulent, unfair trading. All right. Nothing different from other Korean media coverage. The Securities and Futures Commission, under the Financial Services Commission, referred Pang Si-hyuk to the prosecution on July 16th, and the Financial Supervisory Services Special Investigation Team, under the Seoul Southern District Prosecutor's Office, is also investigating the same matter. The National Tax Service launched a tax audit into HYBE last month. Okay, which is why, and plus there's Korean police. So they are saying like 4 government agencies / authorities are targeting HYBE / Pang Si-hyuk. In particular, the Seoul Regional Tax Office's 4th Investigation Bureau, known as one of the NTS's most intensive specialized audit divisions, conducted an unannounced raid at HYBE headquarters, seizing accounting materials for detailed analysis. This bureau is notorious for its high-intensity special planning audits, and the fact that 2 full teams were deployed without prior notice is considered unusual. Scary. Speaking of the email that Pang Si-hyuk sent to the entire HYBE staff, executives, and employees, here's a summary. Okay, so first, Pang admitted that both his name and HYBE had been in the news in an unfavorable light, and expressed concern for how this affected staff morale, right? And he offered a sincere apology for the confusion, discomfort, and stress that this situation has caused within the company. And he described HYBE as a company built on creative ideals, like a place for creators and artists to dream, with the mission to uplift the industry. And he said that he's reflecting deeply on whether his confidence as a leader may have come across as arrogance, and whether he missed anything during the company's rapid growth. And then what else did he say? Yeah, he acknowledged that his lack of public response was due to the sensitivity of the legal investigation, and he asked for understanding. And he announced plans to pause overseas responsibilities and cooperate fully with investigators, as he did during a previous financial review. But if you look at Korean media articles coverage, articles that covered this email content, you could see some like antis commenting on their article, saying that he's always saying these using words, he will never come back to Korea or something. But oh well, it turns out he did come to Korea to fully participate in the investigation. Anyways, what else? He also promised that his personal issues will not interfere with employees' work, creativity, or momentum. And he thanked all HYBE members for their dedication during a turbulent time, and emphasized his respect for their efforts. And he ended that email by stating that his job now is to protect the team and ensure the company stays focused despite all the controversy. Okay? So, yeah, so that was the article, and it later led to multiple other Korean media agencies talk about the same issue. Okay, now let's move over to this particular piece released by Deal Site, which is a Korean media agency platform designated for or their main audience is like financial experts, professionals in the capital markets and stuff. And I have talked about the series of articles that they have put out doing a full deep dive into the quote-unquote Hive IPO controversy or Pang-hyuk's IPO controversy. And they talked about some of the stuff that were never mentioned by the usual Korean media agencies. Okay? And this particular one analyzed the Pang-hyuk IPO case from a legal perspective, focusing on doubts about applying Article 178 of the Capital Markets Act. And the law is meant to prevent market manipulation affecting the general public, not private shareholder agreements. And legal experts, according to this article, argue that it's hard to prove that the omission of Pang-hyuk's profit-sharing deal from IPO filings caused market disruption. And there's little evidence of active deception for a criminal fraud charge. And a key allegation that he secretly applied for a designated auditor appears to have been initiated by other shareholders. And this we have already talked about. And the piece also discusses how Pang-hyuk's high-profile image as a successful but blunt entertainment figure may have intensified public criticism and warns against disproportionate pretrial judgment in the court of public opinion. And I wonder if there are going to be more articles from Deal Site, because this is the 6th one as part of the series. And the reason why I wanted to cover this one was because of this particular segment from the report saying, after the SFC's complaint and police raids on Hive, Pang-hyuk cut short his time in the US, where he was producing BTS' new album, and returned to Korea on August 11th. Police plan to question him, and Hive says he will fully cooperate. In an email to staff on August 6th, Pang-hyuk said he has spent extended time overseas for artist comebacks and business expansion, but decided to return promptly to prioritize the investigation. So it looks like this journalist somehow got the insider information about what Pang-hyuk has been doing in the US, and the fact that this trip to Korea has disrupted his work process for BTS comeback. And that's such a bummer. And by bummer, that's an understatement. Of course, he could always work online, like virtually communicating with BTS members. And nowadays, musicians send music files back and forth and could do projects together, overseas, with a huge distance between them. But still, in-person collaboration is something different. That's kind of sad. But anyways, let me cover this article. The title is, The Sharp-Tongued Pang-hyuk Faces Article 178 and the Court of Public Opinion. And it starts with this presentation slide from Hive's second quarter earnings about Cat's Eye and their growth, which is... Cat's Eye is a team that Pang-hyuk has been dedicated to when it comes to the U.S. music business, right? He was actively involved, and he has been actively involved. All right, our article starts like this. How does the legal community view the Hive IPO controversy? The main debate is over the applicable law. The Securities and Futures Commission alleges that Hive Chairman Pang-hyuk violated Article 178 of the Capital Markets Act, which bans fraudulent trading. However, many legal experts believe applying Article 178 in this case is a stretch. And that's what I've been saying. Thank you. Who said it? Lawyers? Or experts? Anyways, sorry. The profit-sharing clause between Pang-hyuk and a related private equity fund was a private contract under civil law, and using a statute that protects public interest and market fairness to sanction it may be excessive. So here is the Article 178, and here's the semi-official translation in English. Article 178, Prohibition on Unfair Trading. No one shall commit any of the following acts in connection with trading, including blah, 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 or other transaction of financial investment instruments. 1. Utilizing an unfair means, scheme, or trick. 2. Attempting to earn money or any interest in property by using a document containing a false description or representation of a material fact or an omission of a description or representation of a material fact necessary for preventing others from being misled, or any other description or representation. 3. Using an inaccurate market price with intent to attract another to trade or make any other transaction in financial investment instruments. And 2. No one shall disseminate a rumor, use a deceptive scheme, or make a threat with intent to trade or make any other transaction in financial investment, securities, or attempt to cause a fluctuation in the market price. Now, according to this article, the legal experts said what? They believe that applying this particular law in Hive's IPO case is a stretch. And let's dig deeper into this article. Article 178's purpose is, did I just read? No, is to ban fraudulent acts that harm the fairness or smooth functioning of the securities market. A social legal interest, not the personal property rights of individual investors. The Supreme Court has ruled that Article 178 direct legal interest is maintaining the fairness and liquidity of the securities market as a whole, not protecting individual investors' assets. From this perspective, the article says, the SFC's finding that Si-hyuk deceived existing investors into selling their shares does not fall under Article 178, according to most legal opinions. The deal was a private contract between specific shareholders, not the spread of false information to an unspecified group or an act disrupting the market overall. Also, by the way, according to sources, what Si-hyuk said doesn't even fall under the category of deception. The sources said that what Si-hyuk said was rather the IPO plans are unclear, or it could be delayed. Because why? Their number one priority at the time in terms of receiving investments was getting investments from SoftBank's Vision Fund, not going public in the stock market. Okay? But for now, let's read on. A securities law specialist explains. Article 178 was introduced to prevent market manipulation targeting a broad, unspecified public, punishing a matter arising from a contract between certain shareholders under this provision goes against its legislative intent. Even the omission of the profit-sharing agreement from the securities registration statement is seen as unlikely to have caused market disruption. The offering documents already disclosed the tradable share volume, making it hard to prove causation between the omission and any alleged market disturbance. Si-hyuk says the agreement was reviewed by a law firm, confirmed during IPO filing, and fully submitted to the underwriter, reasons that could exclude Article 178's application entirely. As for possible criminal fraud charges, lawyers note that fraud under the criminal code requires an active act of deception, and clear proof is lacking. One of the main pieces of evidence cited by accusers that Si-hyuk secretly applied for a designated auditor to hide IPO plans was recently shown to have been initiated at the request of an existing shareholders. Okay? A senior law firm attorney says there's little evidence that Si-hyuk both pushed for the auditor designation and simultaneously intended to deceive investors. After the SFC's complaint and police raids on Hive, Si-hyuk cut short his time in the US, where he was producing BTS' new album, and returned to Korea on August 11th. Police plan to question him, and Hive says he will fully cooperate. In an email to staff on August 6th, Si-hyuk said he had spent extended time overseas for artist comebacks and business expansion, but decided to return promptly to prioritize the investigation. Si-hyuk's career career arc has been dramatic. And this was an interesting ending by this journalist. Bang Siak's career arc has been dramatic, from failed independent label attempts to BTS global success, from pioneering a multi-label strategy to suffering a high-profile strategic setback with New Jeans. He is considered one of the most advanced K-pop talent developers since SM founder Lee Soo-man. Yet, as someone who started as a so-called 딴따라, which is a Korean term for entertainer, and rose to billionaire status, he has also become a target of envy, says the journalist. And interesting how they use this word, 딴따라, because it's a colloquial Korean word, often slightly derogatory, used to refer to entertainers, like singers or showbiz personalities. And it historically implies someone who makes a living performing for public amusement, sometimes with the connotation of lacking seriousness, professionalism, or respectability compared to real professionals like lawyers, doctors, or corporate executives. And by calling Bang Si-hyuk someone who started as a 딴따라, the article is highlighting that he began as a music producer and performer in the entertainment world, which is a field often and still looked down upon by traditional business circles and even the general public, before he climbed to the status of a corporate chairman and billionaire. And this framing adds a social context. Part of the envy and public scrutiny he faces may be linked to the perception that someone from the entertainment world has entered elite business territory, which some people might see as an outsider achievement. Okay, so that was pretty interesting. Now, the article ends like this. Some people say if he were an unknown business executive, this level of controversy would not exist. Now, as a capital-rich entertainment mogul and former harsh judge on Idol survival shows. So here's a photo from survival shows where he participated as a judge, and he was known to be a harsh one. The article says, so now, as a capital-rich entertainment mogul and former harsh judge on Idol survival shows, Bang Si-hyuk faces the boomerang of public criticism. Experts caution that while moral mistakes and legal violations should be judged, pre-trial public condemnation must remain balanced, and that the level of scrutiny aimed at Bang Si-hyuk right now is clearly excessive. I think it's worth repeating this very ending. Okay? They said, experts caution that while moral mistakes and legal violations should be judged, correct, but pre-trial public condemnation must remain balanced, indeed, and that the level of scrutiny aimed at Bang Si-hyuk right now is clearly excessive. And yeah, I quite agree on the three fronts. So yeah, overall, this article analyzes the Bang Si-hyuk IPO case from a legal perspective, right? Focusing on doubts about applying Article 178 of the Capital Markets Act. And this law is what? Is meant to prevent market manipulation affecting the general public, not private shareholders' agreements. And yeah, legal experts argue that it's hard to prove that the omission of Bang's profit-sharing deal from IPO filings caused market disruption. And there's little evidence of an active deception for a criminal fraud charge, right? So that was pretty interesting. And, the legal nuances aside, the public narrative has taken on a life of its own, because Bang Si-hyuk's career trajectory, from struggling indie producer to the man behind BTS global success, from pioneering a multi-label strategy to weathering the high-profile New Jeans disputes, has made him one of the most visible figures in Korean entertainment. And with that visibility has come envy, resentment, and intense scrutiny, the article says. And some observers might suggest that if he were a low-profile executive, this controversy might never have escalated to its current level. Which was an interesting approach that this article took. Now, the case, I think, is playing out on two stages, right? The court of law and the court of what? Public opinion. And in the legal arena, like prosecutors, financial regulators, and even the National Tax Service's most aggressive investigative unit are involved. In the public arena, though, I don't know. Maybe things are different because for Pang Xiao, his billionaire status had become part of the story, and his past, his blunt and sharp-tongued image from like audition programs, and this might shape perception before any verdict is reached. And that perception might be very well affected by the Korean media's coverage of Pang Xiao. So, as the investigation moves forward, we gotta keep in mind that the outcome might hinge, not only on the evidence, but on how the law is interpreted and applied. And the bigger question now may be whether the public can reserve judgment until the courts have spoken. So, what do you think? Should Article 178 be applied to private deal between shareholders, or does that go against its original intent? And do you believe Pang Xiao's celebrity status has amplified the criticism against him? And how should the media cover cases like this without tipping the scales in the court of public opinion before the legal process is complete? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And also, do you think Pang Xiao could, even though he's now in Korea, could still collaborate with BTS members without any issues for their next comeback? Let me know in the comment section. And when you write comments, as always, let's stay positive, respectful, and classy. Thank you guys. Peace and love. Bye-bye.